Namaskarams to all of you. This is indeed a very blessed year. 2019, among various other events, commemorates the rising of Atthi Varadar Swami, often referred to as Atthi Varadar, from the temple tank of Kanchipuram Sri Varadar Swami temple. I call this a special year because 2017, the year 2017, marked the 1000th year birth anniversary of a towering personality, a philosopher par excellence called Bhagavad Ramanuja. 2018, the following year, commemorated the 750th birth anniversary of a poet, come philosopher, come dramatist, come preceptor, come dietitian, come cartographer, come polyglot, a very, very multifaceted, colorful, yet and again a towering personality called Vedanta Deshika. And both these personalities, who were born 750 and 1000 years before, had immense association with this beautiful city called Kanchipuram, and especially with this temple called Varadar Swami temple, and in particular the goddess Perundevi, and to the presiding deity Lord Sri Varadar Swami. So this year 2019 just falls after 2017 and 18. That itself makes it very special. Now the purpose of this audio content through this audio track is because of the umpteen number of Facebook messages, Twitter messages, mails, personal requests made that some knowledge has to be shared about this Atthi Varadar. Why all of a sudden so much of brouhaha over the coming of Atthi Varadar? To those of them who call themselves millennials, for them this could be the first time. So I am a millennial. This is the first time I am going to have the darshan of Sri Atthi Varadar. So why this brouhaha over his rising? Who is this Atthi Varadar? So plenty of questions that come in the minds of Astikas. So they had some request mails and some order mails also. So I might as well thought, though I don't have an audience in front of me right now, I'm just assuming a situation where all of you are seated across geographies of this globe and listening to this lecture, because with no audience in front of me, it's very, very tough to deliver a content like this. So I wouldn't call this a lecture or discourse. This is just a simple talk. So you might have heard a lot about Kanchipuram. It is regarded as one of the 7 important cities celebrated in our Puranas. It's called a Moksha Puri. Nagareshu Kanchi is a common phrase that we have all read in our scriptures, that among cities it has to be Kanchipuram. And those of you who are acquainted with the South Indian marriage rituals, you may come across a very, very eye-catching ritual. You cannot call it a ritual, a practice called Kashi Yatra. In those days, boys who were married, who were very young, the girls to whom these boys were married were even younger. So practically the education of the groom would begin only after the marriage. So that was how age differences were, and that is how the age preferences used to be. So these boys, once they were married, they will leave the girl to the custody of their parents and would go to Kashi, because Kashi was treated as one important seat of learning. Kashi, which is Varanasi or Benares, whichever name you call it. But to the south of India, the Indians living in the south of India, the Vaidikas who lived in the south of India, Kashi was very, very far. So they would reach up to Kanchi, because Kanchi was equally very popular. Vedanta Deshika says it with lot of audacity. He says, Kashi mudalana nalnagari ellam karmeni arulalar kachikkovva. See, people say Kashi is such an important town. Some say Kanchi is a very important town. But Vedanta Deshika says, I beg to differ. He says, why should I say Kashi and Kanchi are equals? I would rather put it this way. He says, Kanchi is so very special. So much so that Kashi is no match for Kanchipuram because of the presence of Lord Sri Varadaraja. He says, Kashi mudalana nalnagari ellam karmeni arulalar kachikkovva. So Kanchi was that popular. So especially in weddings of the Sri Vaishnava community, scholars opine that you shouldn't even call it Kashi Yatra, you should call it Kanchi Yatra. Well, let's not get into this north-south divide. Both these cities are beautiful, both these cities are important to us. So what makes Kanchipuram so special, and what makes Kanchi Varadaraja so special, and what makes Atthi Varadar so special? So I'm just not going to concentrate on Atthi Varadar. Atthi Varadar is of course going to be a major part of this lecture, but I will just try to give you a glimpse of how the temple history is framed and how the Puranams and the Shastras speak about this Lord. Prachim hotre dadau raja disham swakulavardhanaha adhvaryave pratichim tu brahmane dakshinam disham udgatre cha tathodichi dakshinaisha vinirmita ashvamedhe mahayagne swayambhuva hite pura. These lines that I have cited is from the earliest kavyam poetry known in Sanskrit language. To the itihasas, the Puranas and all the Dharma Shastrams, all our scholars, be it from the school of Advaita, Visishtadvaita or Dvaita, opine that Valmiki Ramayanam is the foremost. It is called Adi Kavyam. None of them differ. So there are places where all of them agree. So we should appreciate that as well. So they all opine that Valmiki Ramayanam is Adi Kavyam. And in that Adi Kavyam, the first kandam, the first canto is Bala Kandam. So while Dasharatha has to perform the Putrakameshti Yagam, we are talking about Treta Yugam. We are now in Kali Yugam. Before this was Dwapara, before that was Treta. So during the Treta Yugam, Dasharatha was one of the very accomplished rulers of Ayodhya. He belonged to the Solar dynasty. While he wanted to perform the Ashwamedham, from he being a follower of Shukla Yajurveda, and then he wanted to perform a supplementary yagam to it, which is called Putrakameshti, which is based on Atharvana Veda. So he hired his own son-in-law. That was one of the most economical ways. So if we talk about cost cutting in the corporate world today, Dasharatha began that all the way back, because he called his own son-in-law called Rishyashringa. Rishyashringa belonged to the state of Karnataka. Even today, if you go to a beautiful place called Kigga, you will find Rishyashringa with his wife Shanta. Rishyashringa was the son of Vibhandaka Maharshi, and today when we are fervently seeking copious rains throughout the country, we do Varuna Japam, and in Varuna Japam we essentially invoke the blessings of Rishyashringa and his wife Shanta. So Rishyashringa was the son of another great sage called Vibhandaka, and they all were from the south of India, especially Karnataka. So the place where he was there was Kigga, and the place where he performed his austerities and penance was Rishyasringagiri, which was later called Sringeri. Now, Rishyashringa was invited by his father-in-law, who is Dasharatha, and he travelled all the way to Uttar Pradesh, which is Ayodhya. So, Valmiki mentions that Dasharatha wanted to perform a yajnam called Ashwamedham. And this Ashwamedham was to be performed by his very own son-in-law. So, the son-in-law will be the priest, and the karta, the doer, will be the father-in-law, who is Dasharatha. At that point in time, Valmiki succinctly puts it. He says, Ashwamedhe Mahayajne Swayam Bhuva Hite Pura. Once upon a time, Swayam Bhuva Hite. Swayam Bhuva. In most cases, the word Swayam Bhuva indicates Brahma. So, Brahma, long back, he says Pura, Ashwamedhe Mahayajne. The same Ashwamedham, which is a Mahayajnam, was performed by him. So let's park Ramayanam aside. What happened in Ramayanam is what we all have known, read, listened. Now let's get to the statement. So during the times of Treta Yugam itself, Valmiki tells that this particular yajnam which Dasharatha is going to perform was once performed by Brahma. Now, it doesn't get into much details of when Brahma performed, but whereas Puranas unanimously state that Brahma performed an Ashwamedha Yajnam in Satya Yugam, which is the first Yugam, Krita Yugam. Now, where did he perform this Yagam is one major question. To that, the Puranam state, and of course later we have the Kshetra Mahatmyam telling that Brahma wanted to perform this in a very, very sacred place, a place that will give you multifold times the punyam or the good deeds that you perform, multiply many times. So, in his research, he found out a place called Satyavrata Kshetram. He was to perform in Satya Yugam. So, the Satyavrata Kshetram is a place that will accomplish the vows that one has wanted to. So, he came to perform this yaga. Now, he had to choose a place such a way that everybody can see it from far. Now, you'll have to be seated on higher pedestal. See, there are two ways. Either you sit at the bottom and people are seated like an amphitheater around you and people look from the top to you. But that wouldn't go in a Vedic parlance, because when you're invoking the fire deity, you'll have to give him a place which is above all. So Brahma saw a small hillock, and it seemed as if the elephants were surrounding it and giving it strength from all sides. So in Sanskritam, amongst various names given to an elephant, Hasti is one word. So this particular hillock, Giri, looked as if the Hastis, the elephants, were protecting it and were giving it strength. So it was called Hastigiri. So atop this Hastigiri, Brahma sat, and he created a sacrificial altar, which was called Yajna Kundam. And he invited people. Imagine he sent WhatsApp messages to everybody. He created a group with 256. I think that's the number of contacts that you can have in a WhatsApp group. So he would have sent it to, I don't know, he had to invite all the devas. So there were like crores of people. So he sent plenty number of WhatsApp messages and they all arrived. Now, two things were required. One, he had to have his wife along, because in Sanatana Dharma, Vaidika Shastram is very clear that if you perform an Agni Karyam, especially a Yajnam or a Homam, the Karta does it, his wife has to be besides him. The wife could be seated on a higher pedestal, she could be seated on a chair, sofa, but she has to stay in touch with the Karta, the doer. So one way to stay in touch is through a wire. Now you can't put wires between the husband and the wife. So the easiest way is to have the darbha grass. So it's a belief that darbha grass connects. So that's how energy flows as well. So the wife has to be with the husband. So he found his wife missing. So all the guests had arrived. The altar was ready. People were ready. But his wife is missing, so he cannot begin the yajna anyways. So that was one concern. The other concern for Brahma was, of course, that there was no image of the Lord. Though we can always say that God could be formless. Yes, he could be formless. Formlessness could also be one of his forms. Nevertheless, Shastram is very clear in telling that there is a form to the Lord. So, if people believe that only fools worship images of the Lord, then we are wrong. Because when our rishis and purvacharyas have worshipped, they were not fools. Of course, Brahma wanted a form, a murti of the Lord. He didn't have that. That was his concern number 2. So he thought he'll address concern number 2 first. Concern number 2 was to have a beautiful deity. Now, where will he get that done? So he has to invite Vishwakarma. He has to use assistants. He is Brahma. At least amongst the devas, they look up to him and he's very popular. He's the biggest manufacturing hub. So he has assistants. He has got Vishwakarma, Maya. They were all architects. So they said, we will assist you. But where will he get the material from? So that is where Brahma thought, I have to use something which is just not useful to me, but useful to generations. You'll all be aware that Brahma initially blessed with 5 heads and then it became 4. Brahma's 4 heads keep reciting and chanting the hymns of the Rig, Yajuhu, Sama, Atharvanam, all the 4 Vedas. One of his heads told him, Hey Brahma, don't you remember reciting the Atharva Veda? Because Atharva Veda says that Udumbara, the tree, is that tree which when worshipped with all devotion will grant one with prosperity and will help annihilate the enemic forces or the foes to that person. So what is this Udumbara? Udumbara tree is a tree which is very, very native to the tropical countries. You'll all be aware that when we look up to in either botany or in zoology, we have something called binomial nomenclature. So, for example, a cockroach is called Periplaneta americana. Likewise, we are called Homo sapiens. So, every living being, be it a plant or an animal or an insect, they all have a name. So we have various classifications. Finally, the last 2 are very specific in nature. One is the genus and the second is the species. So the genus comes first and then more specialized is species. If I have to give you an example, in the South Indian parlance, we all make a delicacy called rasam. In Sri Vaishnava community, we call it Shatramudhu or Satamudhu. Or generally it's called rasam. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಸಾರು, ತಮಿಳು ಸೊಲ್ಲಣಂನ rasam, ಶಾತಮುದು. So we call it by various names. Finally it's rasam. That's genus. What could be the species? It could be elimichambala rasam, made out of lemon. Or it could be paruppu rasam. Or it could be gottu rasam. Or it could be veppambu rasam. This is species. So you're trying to get specialized. So the genus was ficus. And there are many species to it. There's something called racemosa, which is called religiosa, or glomerata. Then there is something called microcarpus. Then there's something called benangatontis. So these are all species that come under the larger genus called ficus. But ficus racemosa is what we understand, which has been indicated by Atharva Veda. So this ficus racemosa in Sanskrit is called Udumbara. On the other hand, the other one, which is Ficus glomerata, is called Udumbara. So there's something called Udumbara, there's another thing called Udumbara. This Udumbara variety is Ficus racemosa, which has been told in Atharva Vedam to grant one with wishes. So this tree in totality is that which enables grant one get wishes. Now, as I was discussing about this tree, you will all be wondering, you were talking about Brahma and Ramayana, now why is this science class? Well, this is the fig tree. அத்திப்பழம்னு சொல்கிறோம் இல்லையா, அந்த அத்திப்பழத்தை கொடுக்கக்கூடிய மரம், அதுதான் Ficus racemosa. Now Brahma, when he researched, he found that this tree is also meant for good health of the masses, for the human beings, because its bark, its wood, its twigs, its leaves, its fruits, everything is very, very, very medically proven to be good in Ayurveda Shastram, and even researchers in the English medicine and research are trying to understand the good varieties, the healing properties of this particular variety. So Brahma thought Udumbara is the best. So he got this fig tree, took the wood and asked Vishwakarma to assist him in carving the best, the most beautiful with Saundarya, Lavanya, Saukumaryam, all the divine attributes of beauty in one. So they carved a beautiful image of the Lord out of Atthi. In Tamil, Atthi is this Ficus racemosa, which is the fig tree. Now this Lord, who looked very, very similar to the original Lord who resides in the supreme abode of Vaikuntham, so he was called Atthi Varadar. Now this was the concern too that Brahma had. He needed a beautiful idol, so this was addressed. So Atthi Varadar was born first. Now then Brahma, at the sacrificial altar, he had to go in search of his wife. Now he left another Brahma there. You will be wondering, why should he create another copy? I am not telling you that he created another copy. He made his very own son the Brahma. See, Brahma, whom we know in scriptures, is often referred to as the assisting creator. On the other hand, in a yajnam or a homam, there is one position called Brahma's position. That could be anybody these days. Now this Brahma is the supervisor for the yagam. He'll tell what is wrong, what is not correct, and what should be correct, and then he supervises. For any project that we do these days, we need a supervisor, a quality check assurance person. So that's the position. So he left his son as the Brahma, as a supervisor, and he started searching for Saraswati. He couldn't find her. Then he said, "My dear son, you go in search of your mother." So it is believed that the previous day, while Brahma left his abode, he had some altercation with his wife. So because of this the tussle between the husband and wife, the wife left Brahma for some time, seeking solace, and in solitude she was trying to understand what went wrong in the relationship. Look, hearing this may seem as if I'm trying to narrate one of our household events, but nevertheless, this is the way we need to understand, because that is how the Kshetra Mahatmyam tells that the husband and wife had some problem. She refused to come. Vasishtha persuaded his mother Saraswati. He said, "Father is performing the Ashwamedham, everything is ready, right from the deity of the Lord, Atthi Varadar, please come." But she refused to come. So Brahma messaged Vasishtha stating that I'll get this yagam done through another route, which was, he had another wife called Savitri. So Savitri helped Brahma start the yaga. The moment Saraswati heard this, she was super upset, and that transformed into anger, and that anger transformed into speed, velocity. So Saraswati, who is the flow of words, now started converting herself into a huge river. She wanted to come in full force and destroy the sacrificial altar of Brahma. So in whichever case, his yajnam should not get accomplished. That was her thought. Well, Vedanta Deshika beautifully says this. Varnastomaira vira वर्णस्तोमैरिव परिणता सप्तभेदैर्महोघैः मान्या मध्ये नगरमभितस्तेविता देवताभिः स्वच्छस्वादुः प्रसरसुभगा स्वामिनी वः कवीनां वेगासंज्ञां वहति महतीं वल्लभा पद्मयोनेः. So she came with large speed. She came as Vegavati. Vegavati is the river Saraswati who came with high velocity. Now, Saraswati, which I told you initially, is the flow of words. She is a deity for the speech. And in any speech, we need the language. And for Sanskrit as a language, we have got Ach. Ach is all the vowels. So you have got A, I, E. And then you need to multiply them with consonants. So consonants, you distribute them basically into 5 sets. Kavargam, Chavargam, Tavargam, Tavargam, Pavargam. What is Kavargam? Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, Nga. What is Chavargam? Cha, Cha, Ja, Ja, Nya. Next is Ta, Tha, Da, Dha, Na. Fourth, Tavargam. Ta, Tha, Da, Dha, Na. Then the fifth, Pavargam. Pa, Pha, Ba, Bha, Ma. So you've got 5 varieties here. Then you've got the 6th variety, which is Adi. What are the other varieties? They are often referred to as Adi, etc. or Yadi, because it begins with Ya, right? Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha. Of course, then you've got the Kshatragna and all that. So all this comes under one category. So you've got the vowels, Kavargam, Chavargam, Tavargam, Tavargam, Pavargam, Yadi. So you've got 7 branches to Sanskrit as a language. So Saraswati, who owns the language, while she came as a river, she branched into 7 distributaries. Shuktika, Kanaka, Sripa, Kampa, Peya, Manjula, Chandavega. So with all these distributaries, she flowed to this beautiful city of Kanchipuram. Now the Lord, who is essentially her father-in-law, because to the Lord from the Nabhi was born his son Brahma. Brahma's wife is Saraswati. And so to Saraswati, the Lord, who is Atthi Varadar, is the very father-in-law. So he slept on this Vegavati as a setu, as a bridge. So he was called Vega Setu, and she stopped as a mark of respect. She didn't want to disobey her father-in-law. Let's assume this was one of those ideal scenarios in those days. Nothing that this is right or that is wrong, but probably it may seem like an utopian land or a description for us today. Let's assume that there was such an ideal daughter-in-law called Saraswati who stopped by the very coming of her father-in-law as the bridge. Well, how is she the daughter-in-law? Are you calling it? No. I told you that Brahma is the son of Vishnu. Narayanat Brahma Jayate, tells Upanishad. So Saraswati has to be the daughter-in-law. Even a Sri Vidya Upasaka like Muthuswami Dikshitar in her beautiful Kirtana in the Ragam Kalavati states, Kalavati Kamalasana Yuvati. There he tells, just a sec. Purari Guru. I'm not able to recollect those words exactly. Purari Guru Hridaya Ranj Murari Snusha Niranjani Kalavati Kamalasana Yuvati Kalyanam Kalayatu. This is the Kirtana where he addresses Saraswati of Sharada Peetham, currently in the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So there he says, Murari Snusha. Snusha means the daughter-in-law. So she is the daughter-in-law to Mura. So even a Sri Vidya Upasaka like Muthuswami Dikshitar cites this. So she slept, the Lord slept on this river. Well, this is the history of Vegavati, the river that flows. Now Brahma was performing the yagam because the Lord was able to remove the obstacle that would stop Brahma's yagam. Brahma was able to accomplish the yagam completely. And at the end of it, while he was doing the Purnahuti, he was coming to the culmination of the Yagam. From the Yajna Kundam arose a beautiful Vimanam called Punyakoti Vimanam. And in the shade of Punyakoti Vimanam was a beautiful Utsava Murti of the Lord that we currently worship, called as Per Arulalan. He is called Varadaraja. You can call him by any name, Pranatarthi Hara, Prabho. These are all the names. So he came to bless his son, the Devas and the devotees forever. So that is why even if you look at the Utsava Murti of Varadaraja today, you can see a lot of spots that scholars opine that since he arose from the Yajna Kundam, that could have been a result of it. In any case, that was the Utsava Murti. So the Mula Murti was made out of wood, the fig tree's wood, called Atthi Varadar. And then you had the Utsava Murti that arose from the sacrificial altar. Vedanta Deshika in Meivirada Manmiyam, which is called Hastigiri Mahatmyam, tells Pagalon Pagal Velakkaga Param Shudar Thonriyade. While we light artificial lights in the night, not during the day, because during the day when there is sun, all these artificial lights, even if you light them, they will be futile. You won't need them because there is always a sun. So when there is the sun, these artificial lights are not required. But when the Lord arose from the sacrificial altar, it seemed as if the sun who was shining bright in the sky was like an artificial light. He was not required because the Lord was 1,000 times the resplendence and the radiance of the sun. So, Pagalon Pagal Velakkaga Param Shudar Thonriyade. Well, Vedanta Deshika goes to describe this further. He tells, Dvirada Shikhari Simna Sadmavan Padmayonehe Turagasavana Vedyam Shyamalo Havyavaha Kalasha Jaladhi Kanya Vallari Kalpashakhi Kalayatu Kushalam Naha Kopikarunya Rashihi. So from the Ashwamedha we had the Utsava Murti, and Brahma had already made a Atthi Varadar. So Atthi Varadar's emergence has been understood by us. Then let's go further. So everything was very, very happy and things were done with lot of fanfare and it was all in pomp and show. Everything went off well. Now we are going to come to Kali Yugam. As we come to Kali Yugam, we see one of the earliest Alvars. So we had, they are called Mudal Alvargal. Poigai Alvar, Bhudat Alvar, Pei Alvar. The middle amongst the three was Bhudat Alvar. He was born in Mamallapuram, called Tirukadalmallai, today known as Mahabalipuram. He has referred to this beautiful city of Kanchipuram, especially to Atthi Varadar. He tells Atthi Uran, Pullai Urvan. So he has made a reference, but you will be surprised. This such important, large, glorified temple of Sri Vaishnavism, which is Varadaraja Swami temple, has been celebrated by only one Alvar amongst the 12 Alvars, or 13 if we include Ramanuja in it. There is only one Alvar who is Bhudat Alvar who has sung on this Lord, and that too not a decade, not even 10 Pasurams. It is just one Pasuram, which is Atthi Uran, Pullai Urvan. Well, the previous Pasuram ends with the word Atthi Uran, but scholars opine that the only Pasuram which celebrates is Atthi Uran, Pullai Urvan. Of course, Nammalvar, who sang the Thiruvaimozhi, doesn't mention of Kanchipuram, but Vedanta Deshika again feels that Thiruvaimozhi entirely is being attributed by Nammalvar only to Varadaraja, Prathama Shatake Vikshya Varadam. So, Alvar's time, you had Atthi Varadar, the Mula Murti, the Utsava Murti, who emerged from the sacrificial altar. Everybody was there. Then came the time of Natha Muni. So, which was between 823 and 924 Common Era. So, Natha Muni had the darshan of Lord Sri Atthi Varadar. Yes, Atthi Varadar was there. Then came his very grandson called Yamuna Muni, who is referred to as Alavandar. That was between 916 and 1041 CE. So there we had the presence of Atthi Varadar, and Atthi Varadar I told you about the healing and the medicinal properties of the fig tree as mentioned in Ayurveda, the granting of prosperity of the fig tree as mentioned in Atharva Veda, and the deity, of course, the Murti of Lord Vishnu, who is Dhanavantri himself. So he was known as the best medical practitioner. So Yamuna Muni makes a beautiful declaration. He says, Yasya prasada kalaya bhadirashrunoti pangu pradhavati javenaja vakti mukaha andhav prapashyati sutam labadecha vindhya tam deva devameva sharanam gatosmi. So this Atthi Varadar whom you see can make the blind see, the dumb speak, the deaf hear, the less fertile man and the woman to be blessed with progeny, to be blessed with incessant and relevant wealth. So this is what he says. So during the time of Yamuna Muni also, we have had Atthi Varadar. Then of course came the very glorious period that was during Ramanuja. 1017 and 1137 Common Era was his life period. So with the grace of Lord Varadaraja, Atthi Varadar of Kanchipuram, he took up sannyasa ashramam and got the name Ramanuja then. So he lived for 120 years. So he had some doubts in his mind. He wanted to get them cleared from the Moola and the Utsava Murtis of Atthi Varadar and Perarulalan. So he requested one of his very, very close confidants and teachers called Kanchipurna or Trikkachinambi, who was a Vasi of one of Chennai's outskirts called Poovirindavalli, which is called Poondamalli. But this personality used to walk every day to Kanchipuram. Well, there's a secret behind that. He was indebted to this Lord. So he would walk up to Kanchipuram and shared a very, very personal relationship with the Lord. So he said, I'll get your doubts cleared. Then he came up with these 6 commandments. Ahameva param tattvam darshanam bhedameva ja upayeshu prapatti syat antima smriti varjanam dehavasane mukti syat purnacharya samashrayah. Of course, there are many, many verses in different wordings that quite say the same thing. Well, Kanchipurna was indebted to the Lord, and then he had Ramanuja, and Ramanuja lived a very, very glorious life, preaching people the philosophy of Visishtadvaita and the theology of Sri Vaishnavism. He was met up with one of his very, very favorite students called Kuresha from a nearby village called Kuram. He survived between 1010 and 1132 Common Era. So Kuresha had a debate with the then Chola chieftain or the king. Historians beg to differ. They say it could not be Kulotunga, some say it could be Kulotunga, some say it could not be the king, it could be the chieftain, somebody of the Chola dynasty. So this person who had a debate with Kuresha was angered by Kuresha's Vidvat, and then he made him blind. Now Kuresha had to meet up with Ramanuja in Kanchipuram. That is when Ramanuja said, you need to pray to Atthi Varadar to get your eyes back. So amongst this medical, we say this doctor is a physician, then we go to consulting physician, and then we say, no, he is super specialized. So he or she has become an endocrinologist. Likewise, Varadaraja, who is the panacea for all kinds of ailments, specializes in ophthalmology. So he is the best ophthalmologist known. So Ramanuja tells, don't you know why our Acharya Kanchipurna is so indebted? Because Kanchipurna had his grandfather called Haritavarana Bhritya, who was blind. But while he was brought to Kanchipuram and especially made to have a darshan of Kanchi Atthi Varadar, he got back his eyesight. Karigiri Varada Haritavarana Bhritya Samahvayam Apurvikamam Drisham Alambhaya Yevahi, he tells. So Kanchipurna, Tirukkachinambigal's grandfather was blessed with eyesight. Then there were a set of twins. They were very good at Dharma Shastram. They were called Shankar and Vihidar. They were blessed with eyes. Then Andhakavi Veeraraghava Mudaliyar, he was a great Tamil poet. He was blessed with eyesight. A very later poet called Arasanipale Venkatadhwari Kavi, he sang 1,000 verses on Vishnu, which is called Vishnu Sahasram, like a Lakshmi Sahasram that he composed, of which he had 200, 200, 200, 200, 200. So these 1,000 verses that he sang in Sanskrit on Vishnu, he distributed them into 5 Archamurtis. First 200 to Sri Rangam, second 200 to Tirupati, third 200 to Kanchipuram, fourth 200, I think it was to Tirumalam Sholai Alagar, and the fifth 200, the last 200 was to Tirukudandai Sharangapani, Aravamudar, if I'm right. Now, what has survived today, till date, is only the 200 verses that he sang on Kanchi Varadar. So this Arasanipale Venkatadhwari Kavi, who was a stupendous Sanskrit poet, was also blind for a very long time. He had a darshan of Kanchi Atthi Varadar and gained back his eyes. And of course, there was a rishi called Dirgha Tamas, who was the son of a rishi called Udatyar. He was born blind, he got back his eyes. So these were the 5 instances I remember vaguely, this being told to me while I had to undergo Kalakshepam, learning of Gita Bhashyam under my teacher, Srivatsankachar Swami. So he mentioned of these 5 instances. So knowing this history of him being the best ophthalmologist, Ramanuja tells his favorite student Kuresha, who lost his eyes because of the Chola chieftain, to pray to Kanchi Varada. Neelamegha Nibham Anjana Punja Shyama Kuntalam Anantashayam Tvam Abjapani Padam Ambujanetram Netrasat Kuru Karisha Sadame. Kuresha prayed and got back his eyes. So he got back his eyes on the advice of Ramanuja through the previous experience of Tirukachchinambi from Atthi Varadar. So right from Bhudattalvar, Nammalvar, Nathamuni, Yamunamuni or Alavandar, then Ramanuja, then Kuresha, and of course Kuresha's Kurattalvan's son called Parashara Bhatta. So we all know Atthi Varadar's presence. Then came another glorious period in the 12th and the 13th century by Vatsya Varadaguru, who is referred to as Nadadur Ammal. He survived between 1165 and 1275 Common Era. See, in those days they lived for more than 100, 110 years easily. He was very dedicated to Atthi Varadar, and those of them who are listening to this who are fans of Atthi Varadar cannot deny that we are bigger fans of Perundevi Tayar. We love the Mrs. more than the Mr. So was the case with Nadadur Ammal, who sang a laudatory verse on Perundevi Tayar Mahadevi. He stated, Akaratraya Sampannam Aravinda Nivasini Asesha Jagadishitrim Vande Varadavallabham. So, Nadadur Ammal, who was Vatsya Varadaguru, headquartered his teaching, Sri Bhashyam teachings, in Kanchipuram. Next came his students' golden period, who was called Vadihamsambu Vahaka or Kidambi Appillar, 1221 to 1295 Common Era. He was also very dedicated to Atthi Varadar. So we have come till the 13th century. Now towards the end of 13th century was the most glorious period, just not for this world but especially for Kanchi Atthi Varadar. That was the birth of Swami Vedanta Deshikan in 1268 Common Era. So he was born in the star of Shravana in the month of Bhadrapada. Bhadrapada Masagata Vishnu Vimalakshe Venkata Mahidrapati Tirtha Dinabhute Pradura Bhavad Jagati Daitya Ripu Ghanta Hanta Kavitarkika Mahendra Gurumurtya. Those of you who have been following me will know that none of my lectures are complete without mentioning this love of my life who's Tupul Vedanta Mahadeshikan. This personality was absolutely dedicated to Kanchi Atthi Varadar. Attigiri Arulala Perumal Vandar. I don't know what to quote and what not to quote because he has composed so much on Atthi Varadar. Well, I'm not delving deep because our concentration is more on Varadar. Just underline the statement. Nobody could have loved Varadaraja of Kanchipuram, like how Vedanta Deshika must have loved. On the other hand, we can also make this declaration. Varadaraja would have loved nobody as much as he loved Vedanta Deshika. So they had a beautiful relationship. Well, the point is, immediately after Vedanta Deshika's time period, Vedanta Deshika sang Hastigiri Mahatmyam, Adaikalapattu, then there was a Tiruchinnamalai, then Varadaraja Panchashat, verses in Hamsa Sandesham, one or two few indicative laudatory verses in Yadavabhyudayam. Well, he sang so many things on Lord Varadaraja, Atthi Varadar especially. Then came the period of Sri Manavala Mamunigal. Swami Manavala Mamunigal was a towering personality. He sang the Devaraja Mangalam. Now we are dealing between 1370 and 1443 Common Era. Meanwhile, we also have the emergence of a great Telugu poet called Annamacharya. Annamacharya, who lived between 1408 and 1503 Common Era, he sings Kanchi Varaduniki Venkatagiripatiki. So he mentions many a times about Kanchi Varaduniki. So he mentions about Kanchi Atthi Varadar. And then came, of course, a beautiful period yet again. And this period was that of Appaya Dikshitar. You'll all be surprised. Appaya Dikshitar was a towering personality at that point in time. He was a great follower of the Advaita school. Of course, he gave his own interpretation to Advaita, not essentially following the core tenets of Adi Shankara, slightly deviated, but still it comes under Advaita largely. There could have been differences between the Vivarana and the Bhamati schools. Anyways, the point is, Vinayaka Subramanyam was his name. He was called Appaya Dikshita. He was a very respected court scholar and poet during the times of Timma Reddy and Bomma Reddy. There were Reddy brothers in those days too. So, he was there, the court poet. Then he became a great fan of Vedanta Deshika, who lived like 400 years before him. He wrote a commentary to his magnum opus called Yadavabhyudayam. At that point in time, his love for Varadaraja of Kanchipuram grew multifold, and he once came and sang over 100 verses in chaste Sanskrit called Varadaraja Stavam. So, besides the Varadaraja Stavam that was sung by Kuresha Kurattalvan, where he sang Srinidhim Nidhim Aparamarthinam Arthitartha Paridana Dikshitam Sarvabhuta Suhridam Dayanidhim Devarajam Adhirajam Ashraye. So, likewise, there was a Varadaraja Stavam that was sung by Appaya Dikshita. There, in one of the verses, I'm just citing one verse as a sample. I'm sure all of you will dwell deep and learn better. Sarasvatam Vadanapadma Bhuvam Pravaham Traitstrotasam Cha Tavapada Bhuvam Niriksha Sarvav Pratika Nikarat Pravahantya Jastram Ishyatvatisha Yamuna Kimukaya Kantihi. It's a beautiful verse where he says Sarasvatam Vadanapadma Bhuvam Pravaham. So he says, when I look at Atthi Varadar, the countenance, the face of the Lord is as resplendent as the cool nectarine-like rays-giving moon. So from the face flows river Saraswati, he says. Then he looks at the feet of the Lord of Atthi Varadar and he says, from the feet arises Ganga. So Ganga, we have known in Puranams, comes from the Lord's feet. So looking at the face, it is Saraswati, the feet is Ganga. Now, the third river got really upset. She wanted to come from somewhere. So she, being very dark, she came from the rest of the body of the Lord, which is now the river Yamuna. So he says, I see a Triveni Sangamam right in front of my eyes. I don't know whether he indicates something that's going to happen in the future. He could be like a Nostradamus. Let's park this aside. So he talks about a Triveni Sangamam in the beautiful Murti of Atthi Varadar. So this is where Appaya Dikshitar is, we need to understand. So he had a great affection. So he was, if I have to tell one important fact about Appaya Dikshitar, he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So much so that he cribbed about being born as a follower of Samaveda. He tells, I should have been born as a Yajurvedi, because Sri Rudram with all the 11 Anuvakams comes entirely in Yajurvedam. Had he been a Yajurvedi, he could have learned Sri Rudram, but because he was a Samavedi, he had to spend his entire lifetime learning Samavedam. Only then he could have come to Yajurvedam. So he says, I repent because I am not able to recite Rudram because I am a Samavedi now. So that kind of a staunch Shiva devotee praises Varadaraja, because Varadaraja, Atthi Varadar, was a craze amongst all scholars. So he praises in his Varadaraja Stavam. So I have spoken about the Alvar, then the Acharyas, I have spoken about Appaya Dikshita. Now is where we see a change, a turn. Because we had the Vijayanagara kings who immensely contributed to the country and especially to Sanatana Dharma. We had Achyuta Devaraya, the younger brother to Krishna Devaraya, around I think it was 1520. That's what one of the inscriptions that I have read states, that he built a beautiful jewel of Vijayanagara architecture, which is the 100-pillared mandapam that you see when you enter Kanchi Varadaraja Swami temple. To your left, besides the Ananta Saras, you see a Nurukal mandapam. அது 1520 நூற்றாண்டில் அச்சுத தேவராயர் எழுப்பினது. So beautiful mandapam, it's a crown of Vijayanagara architecture. Now that was the period 1520. Then after that, around the 1600s is where we saw a change in the Delhi Sultanate, because around the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th century you had Qutbuddin Aibak, you had Iltutmish, you had the Khiljis, you had the Tughlaqs. But now came largely the Mughal rule. So they were all from the same religion, but you call them by different name tags in history. So you had the Mughal rule. Of course, since we have dealt with their life history in detail in our history textbooks, I may not have to spend a lot of time. We all know in and out of these Mughal rulers. So you had the Babur, you had Humayun, you had Shah Jahan, you had Jahangir. So we know a lot about these kings. Well, one of the tyrant kings, what history and what a lot of temple inscription says, is of the 17th century. He was called Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's invasions were worse than Malik Kafur's and Khiljis in the 13th century, due to which Srirangam, the foremost of the Vaishnava temples, suffered. Now it was a turn of Kanchi, because Kanchi was not ruled by Pallavas at that point in time. It was very weak. The Vijayanagara empire was getting weaker in the 16th century. That is when there were a lot of rumors that Aurangzeb will just not levy jizya, the tax, but he will come and loot the temples and destroy the deities. So the Vaishnavas who were living in Kanchipuram wanted to protect the Moola and the Utsava Murtis of the Lord, one being made by Brahma, the second one that arose from the sacrificial altar. So the Utsava Murti that we see today in the temple day in and day out was carried by the devotees in a palanquin to a small place called Udayar Palayam. So the king there was ready to host the Lord and protect the Lord. Now what to do with the Moola Murti? Because the Moola Murti that we see, the Atthi Varadar, is huge. He's close to 8.5-9 feet. So where to carry him? It will be very tough. So the Vaishnavas at that point in time, in the 16th century, they dug a huge mantapam in the Ananta Saras, the temple tank, embalmed Atthi Varadar, because it's wood after all. And then they placed him along with his serpent couch, which is Adisesha. That's why you find a lot of Sarpa Kaval. In Tamil we call it Sarpa Kaval. That's why they even fear to open the vault of Thiruvananthapuram, because it's believed that Adisesha is always there to protect. Of course, the protector doesn't need a protector, but Adisesha, out of his servitude, believes that he will always be the umbrella. Sindral Kudayam, Irindal Singhasanamam, Ninnal Maravadiyam. That's how the Alvar says. So this deity was preserved in the pit below. And over a period of time, the temple neither had the Mula Murti or the Utsava Murti. So it's widely believed and circulated amongst scholars that for a very long period of time, the temple could not even perform the regular Aradhanam because there was no Utsava Murti and the Mula Murti. Because after a long period of time, after Aurangzeb looted Kanchipuram, because the Punyakoti Vimanam was destroyed completely, the temple was in shatters, ruins. And after he left, while the Vaishnavas, who had now become very old, went to Udayar Palayam, the king there was not ready to part away with the Utsava Murti. He said, he has become a part of our family, I will not part. Neither could these people, because they were very old, they could have suffered from dementia, they didn't know where they had kept the Lord. So for a very long time, there was no Mula Murti and the Utsava Murti. Finally, after a long fight, they brought the Utsava Murti from Udayar Palayam back to Kanchipuram. So the temple got back its Utsava deity. But where's the Mula Murti? People did not know. So people who managed to protect the Atthi Varadar in the temple tank were all either dead or they suffered from dementia. So people did not know. So they wanted a Mula Murti because as per Agama Shastram you need a Mula Murti. So there was a beautiful hamlet called Parayashivaram, which is found near Chengalpet today. That's where 3 different tributaries of Pala join together. It's called Tirumukkudal. And then it enters the sea. So I told you that Appai Dikshita spoke about Triveni Sangamam in Atthi Varadar. You'll be surprised. This is another Triveni Sangamam that we see near Chengalpet of Pala. 3 different tributaries coming together. In this Parayashivaram was a beautiful Mula Murti of the Lord called Devaraja Swami, and with the scholars' unanimous decision, that was brought to Kanchipuram and installed in the Garbhagriham. So it had a new Mula Murti called Devaraja Swami that we see in the temple today, and the Utsava Murti that who came from Udayar Palayam. Yet, till then, Atthi Varadar was not spotted. Of course, Purandaradasa tells in he lived between 1484 and 1564, before the deity went into the temple tank. He tells, Kannara kandena achutana, Kannara kandena achutana, Kanchi punya Koti Kariraja Varadara Kannara. So during the time of Purandaradasa also you would have had a darshan of Atthi Varadar. It is only after the weakening of Vijayanagara that Atthi Varadar's presence was not known. Must have been around the first half of the 18th century, or probably the second half, that a lot of the Tatacharyas in Kanchipuram, they are a serving huge population who have been serving for generations with absolute devotion to Kanchi Varadar. So these Tatacharyas, once while the temple tank was being cleaned, they spotted this beautiful Atthi Varadar mentioned in Ramayanam, mentioned in the Puranams, mentioned by Alvar, mentioned by the Acharyas. Then they brought him, but there was already a new Mula Murti there. So they thought to honor the Mula Murti, let's preserve this Atthi Varadar and ensure that he comes out to bless his devotees once every 40 years. So that is how this rising of Atthi Varadar from the temple tank became a tradition. It must have been around 1819, because now we are in 2019. So 40 years, you backtrack, you will go to 1819 Common Era. So that is when Atthi Varadar must have come. At that point in time, 1819, that year he must have come after a period of 40 years. And this is very unique that I am going to tell you an information about 3 very important personalities in our South Indian music tradition, which is Carnatic music tradition. இவாளை நம்ம கர்நாடகத்து சங்கீதத்தில் மும்மூர்த்திகள்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஒருத்தர் மூத்தவர் ஷியாமா சாஸ்திரி, அடுத்தவர் தியாக பிரம்மங்கிற தியாகராஜர், மூணாவது முத்துசுவாமி தீக்ஷிதர். All 3 of them had one unique thing. The unique thing was they all were born in the beautiful temple town of Tiruvarur. Of course, then they lived in various parts of Tamil Nadu, but they were born in Tiruvarur. The eldest of them was Shyama Shastri. He lived between 1762 and 1827 Common Era. 1827 தான் நிச்சயமாக 1819 அவர் பார்த்துருக்கணும் அத்தி வரதரை. அவர் ஒரு வர்ணம் பாடியிருக்கார் ஆனந்த பைரவியில். ரொம்ப ரேர் இந்த வர்ணம் கேட்கறதே. இதில் இன்னொரு விசேஷம் சொல்கிறேன். ஷியாமா சாஸ்திரி பாடியிருக்கார். அதை I'm just attempting. Of course, scholars who listen to this will be able to do a very, very decent and a much, much better job. Maruni banamulu vege maruneta nagaleno ಕೂರಿಮಿತು ನನ್ನೇಲಿನ ಗುಣವಂತುಡೈನ ಶ್ರೀವರದರಾಜಸಾಮಿನಿ ರಮ್ಮನವೇ. ಸಾಮಿನಿ ರಮ್ಮನವೇಲ he describes Kanchi Varadar with lot of Shringara Rasam, the passion, love. This is Shyama Shastri. Of course, Tyagaraja, அவர் வரதராஜ நின்னு கோரி, ரேர் ராகம் இது. வரதராஜ நின்னு கோரி வச்சிதி ம்ரோகேர வரகிரி வைகுண்டமட கருட சேவ ஜூட. இல்லை, கருட சேவையை பார்க்கறதுக்காக நான் இந்த கரிகிரிக்கு வந்திருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்றார். So by then this Kanchi Garuda Seva was also getting very popular. In another Kirtana, Venata Sutta Vahanudai அப்படிங்கிற அந்த கீர்த்தனையில் சொல்றார், நேர வைசாகோத்சவமுன பশ্চিம கோபுர துவாரமுன. வெஸ்டர்ன் கோபுரத்தில் இருந்தால் பெருமாள் வருவார். மேற்கு கோபுரம்னு பார்ப்போம், அதுதான் சன்னதி தெரு இருக்கும், அதுதான் முக்கியமாக பெருமாள் எழுவர். ஈஸ்ட் கோபுரம் இப்போ அத்திவரதற்காக திறந்து வச்சிருக்காளே ஒழிய பெருமாள் வெஸ்ட் கோபுரம் தான் திறப்பா. ஏன்னா அவர் வெஸ்ட் ஃபேஸிங், பராங்முகமாக இருக்கார். தாயார் தான் ஈஸ்ட் ஃபேஸிங். ஷீ லுக்ஸ் டுவர்ட்ஸ் த ஈஸ்ட், பிரசன்னாபிமுகீம். வெல், நவ் தியாகராஜா has sung. Muthuswami Dikshitar, he even does not stop with making a reference to Garuda Seva. He even tells about the Ananta Saras. Kanchi Nagara Viharam Kali Rakshita Choram Kalidosha Hara Tirtha Prabhava Guru Guhadinatam Kapila Shukadi Sanuta Garuda Vaharohitam Varadarajamupaasmahe அப்படின்னு அவர் பாடுறார். So he mentions about the Tirtha Prabhavam and he of course mentions about Garuda Seva. So they have mentioned about Kanchi, they have mentioned about Varadaraja, they have mentioned about Garuda Seva, and they have also mentioned about the waters. இது நான் சொல்றது 1819 பெருமாள் வந்திருப்பார். So high probability that the Karnataka Mummurti must have had a glimpse and darshan of Atthi Varadar. But what is more unique is they have sung on a variety of deities. Of course, Shyama Shastri was very devoted to Bangaru Kamakshi when he lived in Tanjavur. Tyagaraja was extremely devoted to Rama, but he has sung a few kritis on Shiva, Parvati, Ganapati, Kartikeya and so on, but majorly Rama. And Sri Vidya Upasaka like Muthuswami Dikshitar travelled to various places and he has sung on a variety of deities. But you'll be surprised to know that all three of them have commonly sung only on 4 temples. One is of course the temple of Dharma Samvardhini in Tiruvayyaru, which is the Panchanadi Kshetra. And then there is this Kanchi Kamakshi. And the third, you will be surprised, the only one Perumal temple to be featured, because amongst the 4, the other 3 are all deities of the goddess, which is Ambal. ஒரே ஒரு பெருமாள் மேலே தான் இவ 3 பேரும் யுனானிமஸாக பாடியிருக்கானா அது காஞ்சி வரதர். See, Shyama Shastri has not even sung on Lord Shiva. So he has sung on Kartikeya, he has sung on Parvati and he has sung on Varadaraja. So Varadaraja is the only one who stitches all 3 of them. So that's something very unique. Kshetraya, who lived between 1595 and 1680 common era, he belonged to a small village called Muvva in Andhra. He sang padams that depict Sringara Rasam, and you won't believe in more than 30 such padams, compositions, he has invoked only Kanchi Varadaraja. So, be it Annamacharya and Kshetraya of the Telugu tradition, Purandaradasa, the Pitamaha of Karnataka Sangeetam in the Kannada tradition, or the 3 Mummurtis who lived in Tamil Nadu, who are Shyama Shastri, Muthuswami Dikshitar and Tyagaraja, all of them have sung on Atthi Varadar. The Alvar, especially Bhudattalvar and Nammalvar, have extremely devoted to Atthi Varadar. Nathamuni, Yamunamuni, Ramanuja, Kanchipurna, who was Tirukkachi Nambigal, Kuresha, who was Kurattalvan, Parashara Bhattar, then Vatsya Varadaguru, who is Nadadurammal, Kidambi Appillar, Swami Vedanta Deshikan, Manavala Mamunigal, Doddayacharya, Pratyushe Varadaha, Prasannavadanaha, Praptabi Mukhyanjanan, Abadhanjali Mastakana Viradan, Abalamanandayan, Mando Damara. There are 2 more lines. It goes like this. It's called Devaraja Panchakam. So all of them had something in common, which was Atthi Varadar. But of course, in the last 400 years, because of the wonderful invasion history that we have had, Atthi Varadar was forced to go inside the pond, and he comes once in 40 years. So 2019 is one such year. He'll stay here for 48 days if I'm right, and then we'll get back to the temple waters. So if people were wondering that the Moola Murti of Puri alone is made of wood, then we are wrong. Out of Atthi wood we had a Varada. If people wondered that the Mummurtis of Carnatic music might have sung on some other temple of Perumal or Shiva, no, there is only one temple of Vishnu, which was Kanchi Varada, sung by all of them. So highly revered, highly loved, highly respected is this beautiful Kanchi Varadaraja Swami temple. And what is more appealing and fascinating is the Goshti of Kanchipuram. Today, as commoners, as primitive mortals, as people who can just learn and listen to, we people can admire Kanchipuram from various angles. And of course, there's this Garuda Seva, when the Lord flies on Garuda. There is a set of devout people who recite the Nalayara Divya Prabandham in the front and following the Lord, the footsteps of Acharyas and following the footsteps of the Lord is a beautiful set of devotees who will be reciting Vedam behind. So this Goshti of Kanchipuram is very unique for the rhythm in which they recite and with the love they have for Varadaraja. So I think I've bored you all. This is not a regular discourse which is given in a certain paddhati. This was just a jnana that I'm sharing, that I have read from my acharyas. Hope you will all like it. Go to Kanchipuram this year, especially during this period. Get a darshan of this beautiful murti of Atthi Varadar, and let's all stay blessed with the grace of all our arvas and acharyas. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha.